Hello guys, Nightfall here, and welcome to a top 10 list of the best chance on hit weapon effects in Classic World of Warcraft in my opinion. Making a list like that is incredibly difficult and it's impossible to be 100% objective. Don't expect this video to be either. There are so many factors to count in, and how much weight you attribute to each will vary from person to person. If you asked 100 people to make a top 10 like this, the outcomes would probably be radically different to each other. It is important to keep in mind that the list is a top 10 of best weapon effects, meaning that the weapons that carry the effects don't have to be powerful or viable themselves. I haven't tried to guess the different proc chances of all the on-hit effects either, so no matter how low they might be and how seldom they might proc, if the effect is top 10 worthy in my opinion, it will be included. As a quick aside, I decided not to include Thunder Fury to make room for more perhaps lesser known items. It would have most likely made it to number 1 otherwise. Timestamps to each weapon can be found in the description, and without further ado, let's jump in and look at spot number 10. We start off with an item from none other than the Fire Lord himself, Ragnaros. It's the Bonereaver's Edge, an excellent two-handed sword and one of quite a few weapons with an armor reducing or armor penetration effect. The effect from the Bonereaver's Edge works a bit differently, however. Usually with a weapon like the Annihilator for instance, the target is applied an armor reducing debuff like that from Sunder Armor. In the Bonereaver's Edge's case, you're actually buffing yourself. The buff stacks up to 3 times, and for each stack, your attacks will ignore 700 armor from your targets up to a total of 2100 armor. That's a lot of armor penetration, which can dramatically boost your own damage. It is difficult to gauge how many percent it will increase your damage, and it all depends upon the armor values of the targets you're up against. For raid bosses, their armor seems to be in the thousands range and varying depending on the type of boss. I read a comment on a forum stating that the estimated armor of Ragnaros is 3700 for instance. In that case, with 3 stacks of the Bonereaver's Edge effect and 5 stacks of Sunder Armor on the boss, you're basically hitting for true damage or as if the boss had 0 armor. I was originally going to place the Bonereaver's Edge higher on the list since it was truly broken on private servers and used in Naxxramas even. The problem with private servers, however, was that the armor values of the raid bosses were significantly higher in most cases. In Classic World of Warcraft, it seems you can reduce the armor of a boss to 0 pretty easily with basic abilities such as Sunder Armor, Fairy Fire and Curse of Recklessness, making the effect from the Bonereaver's Edge pretty redundant. I still wanted to include it though. The effect can be strong in certain PvE scenarios, but it's probably much better for PvP in Classic, where you'll be able to slice through the cloth wearers like a hot, sharp kitchen knife through butter. I really like the fact that the armor penetration from the effect applies to all targets as well and not just a single one. You're buffing yourself as mentioned. The effect is totally unique, and although it might not be as strong in Classic as it was on private servers, it definitely still has its place in my opinion. Next up, we have a mean and intimidating looking item from Bloodlord Mandokir in Zul'Gurub that hasn't been released in Classic yet. It's the polearm Halberd of Smiting. The chance on hit effect will decapitate the target on a melee swing, causing 452 to 677 damage. It is important to note that the target doesn't have to be low HP for the effect to trigger, although the word decapitate might make you think that. There are lots of weapons with on-hit effects that deal damage, whether it's throwing a shadow bolt, lightning shock or whatever at the target. But from my research, the Halberd of Smiting does the highest damage of all of them. Not only that, but the effect can crit as well, making it even better. Others can too, but I'm not sure if it's the exception or the rule. I was fortunate enough to get this weapon myself on another server prior to Classic releasing, and it was great fun using in PvP. I played an arms warrior, and just like you can increase your crit chance with axes through the axe specialization talent, the polearm talent works the exact same way. I can't answer to whether it affects the crit chance of the proc itself, however. Anyways, the list had to have a representative of all the chance to deal extra damage on your swing weapons, and so the Halberd of Smiting made it to number 9. For number 8, we are staying in the jungle city of Zul'Gurub, but I've cheated a small bit and included 2 items and not just 1. What we're looking at is the set bonus of Thekal's Grasp and Arlokk's Grasp. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be familiar with it. It's not quite the regular chance on hit effect, however. First of all, it can proc from melee and ranged damage, so the source of the damage doesn't have to be from the fist weapons themselves. Secondly, the proc will actually change the appearance of your character into an upright, special looking tiger, which is pretty dope. It's a very cool addition in my opinion, and it gives the grasps a lot of flavor. Thirdly, and most importantly, when the proc triggers, it will increase your melee and ranged attack power by 300 for 12 seconds. 300 is a substantial amount. I'm not sure about ranged attack power, but every 14th melee attack power provides 1 increased DPS. So, 300 attack power should give you 21 extra DPS, which amounts to about 250 damage over 12 seconds from auto attacks alone. The damage from most instant attacks will of course also be increased. I can't lie, the aspect of the effect of Thekal and Arlokk's grasps that I like the most is the change of appearance, but its versatility is certainly an added bonus. Not only do they benefit the melee DPS classes, but they're more than viable for hunters too. Yeah, who doesn't like more loot that hunters can snatch from you? I'm sorry, but I guarantee the Untamed Blade will be the last featured weapon actually not available in Classic yet. It drops from the first boss of Blackwing Lair, Razorgore the Untamed. The name is totally fitting too. The epic two-hander will allow you to unleash some untamed power and strength quite literally. The on-hit effect increases your strength by 300 for 8 seconds. Boom. Thrice the amount provided from the Crusader enchant and 50% more than that from the epic sword Destiny. At first glance, the Untamed Blade looks ridiculous, in a good sense, and it is. Paladins and warriors are probably most likely to wield it, and for those two classes, the increased 300 strength will equal 600 melee attack power. That would indeed be twice the amount you get from the fist weapons from before. If you consider the 86 attack power you get from Ash Candy Greatsword of the Brotherhood, it's like the long bastard sword in comparison. You might as well vendor that piece of garbage. I'm just kidding. Obviously the effect from the Untamed Blade has to trigger first, but it still gives you an idea of how unreal the effect is. The place I would like to go the most ham with the Untamed Blade is in PvP, where you have the potential to dish out some nasty burst damage with the effect active. I'm always a fan of buffs like that, which allow you to, albeit in a small time window, really catch your opposition off guard and unload some massive pain. Pop your cooldowns and whirling down some noobs on the battlefield like a living killer Beyblade gone berserk. At the number 6 spot, the Dark Iron Pulverizer makes its entrance. Whether you want to use it to knock down a wall or just knock your enemies silly, the level 50 blue quality mace has one of the most powerful weapon effects for PvP in the entire game. It has the chance on hit of stunning the target for 8 seconds. You know that the proc rate will be absurdly low, but that doesn't change the fact that the effect is beyond this world. I guess it is anyways since the game world is Azeroth, but the point remains. An 8-second stun is straight up unfair and amazing in PvP scenarios. It would not be right not to include the Dark Iron Pulverizer somewhere on the list, but I didn't want to place it much higher, since the effect is relatively simple and not too useful outside of PvP. It doesn't really have any clever usages that I can think of at least, it's just a very mean stun. Making its way to number 5 is Felstriker from Went Blackhand in Upper Blackrock Spire. With an estimated drop chance of 0.2% in Classic WoW, the epic dagger is just as rare as the on-hit effect is powerful. It will guarantee all your attacks to land and crit for 3 seconds, so it's twofold. You're guaranteed to hit your attacks, which will result in more damage over the long run, and the critical strikes will obviously increase your damage as well, but they also synergize with talents such as Flurry for warriors, plus increase the rage you generate. The critical strike part is without a doubt the most powerful aspect of the effect, and I think everyone loves seeing those big numbers pop up on your screen. If Felstriker procs during the execute phase of a boss fight, I'm spamming that ability and popping any mighty weight potions immediately. Not to say Felstriker is only viable for warriors, it's just the class I'm more familiar with. Rogues will obviously benefit hugely from it too, and if you can get a guaranteed eviscerate crit or pop a slice and dice with the effect active, I'm sure you'll be overjoyous. Coming in at spot number 4, we have the lowest level item of the video. It's Blade of the Basilisk, a BoE drop from the rare elite Iron Eye the Invincible. Iron Eye is part of a special group of wares, namely those that have the chance to drop blue quality items. There aren't too many of them around, and I would guess their respawn times are rather long too, so you're more unlikely to encounter them compared to other wares. Iron Eye himself is level 37, has about a 2-day respawn time, and he roams around the eastern part of the Shimmering Flats in the Thousand Needles. Seeing that he's located in such an open and busy area with many quests, it will be very hard to find him alive and secure a kill. If you do, however, the Blade of the Basilisk seems to drop at about a 50% chance. So, it's about time we look at the on-hit effect. For 5 seconds it will increase your defense by 33. I didn't know what to think about it at first, but compared to the effect from the level 60 epic sword Corsair, which gives only 13 defense, the difference is gigantic. Sure, the effect from Corsair also increases your armor by 300 and it lasts 10 seconds, but it is Corsair after all. Blade of the Basilisk is a level 32 sword. If you could change the effects of the two weapons, I guess Corsair might become better. It certainly would be if you could keep the effect up all the time. I thought it would be cool to include something specifically for tanks, and since the 33 defense from the Blade of the Basilisk effect is such a large amount, it made top 4. I don't know any items in the entire game that provides more than 33 defense as a base stat. In fact, most Naxxramas tanking items only give between 10 and 15 defense. We enter the top 3 with the weapon of Emperor Dagran Pulverizer, Ironfoe. Ironfoe is an epic main-hand mace with a microscopic drop chance, which is fair considering how insane it is. It has the chance on hit to grant you 2 extra attacks on your next swing and make you speak in Dwarven for a short duration. Any effect that makes you strike an extra time, or heck 2 extra times in Ironfoe's case, is usually highly sought after. 3 strikes of Ironfoe and you're out, as they say. Anyways, we also see it with the Hand of Justice from General Angerforge and Windfury most of all. Hitting extra times will obviously increase your damage, and I don't know how they work exactly, but I would guess the extra attacks also have the chance to critically strike, trigger certain talents, weapon enchants, etc. They will also increase the rage you generate as a warrior. Based on the wording, I would assume the effect from Ironfoe works similarly to Windfury. As of the 112 patch, I don't believe the extra attacks can trigger Windfury however, and vice versa. I did some research and there's an old comment from 2005 saying that they can, but a newer one from the 112 patch in 2006 saying they cannot. Classic WoW is based on the 112 patch, by the way. Regardless of the specific details of how the bonus attacks from Ironfoe work exactly, it's one bad son of a gun weapon, no doubt. I mean, the fact that it has the same effect as one of the most popular abilities in Classic WoW, Windfury, makes it very hard to beat. Sure, Windfury will give you some added attack power to your extra attacks, but that's not why it's so celebrated. Securing its spot at number 2 on the list is the two-hander Nightfall. It's an epic axe crafted through the blacksmithing profession, and it was the grand finale weapon of my broken blacksmithing items video. You need to be an axesmith and exalted with the Thorium Brotherhood in order to learn how to make it. With a Nightfall in a 40-man raid group, the Knight certainly becomes much more likely to fall on any raid bosses you're up against. It has the on-hit effect of increasing spell damage taken by the target for 15% for 5 seconds. That's 15% increased damage from all the spellcasters of your group in a 5-second window. An absolutely unparalleled effect which can significantly shorten a boss encounter and increase your chances of succeeding in securing a tough boss kill. The effect from Nightfall is so powerful that raids will sometimes have a designated Nightfall person whose sole job it is to try and keep up the effect as often as possible. This usually means spamming any instant attacks such as Wing Clip for hunters or Hamstring for warriors. Yeah, that's right. Some people might go so far to have a hunter just spam Wing Clip in melee range on a boss like a complete fool. At least that is what I've heard. I don't know if any guilds have actually taken things so far, and it must be the most painfully boring job for the hunter. You're sacrificing all of your own damage, doing a mindlessly repetitive task to the benefit of the rest of the raid. Others have used Nightfall to justify the presence of an enhancement shaman in raids, but I think the normal approach is just to have a warrior off-tank wielded when they are off their tanking duties. I've seen people argue the case for Nightfall on Retribution Paladins too. It's amazing the lengths people will go to and the amount of Furyizing that can go into a single item like Nightfall. I wonder how bad the actual weapon damage itself would have to be for people to start to consider not getting it. I'm pretty sure people would use it even if the effect sat on a useless beaten battle axe. And for me, that's justification enough to include Nightfall in the top 2. One of the reasons it didn't finish at the top of the mountain is that it's pretty much only useful in raids. Sure, would you like your opponent in a PvP battle to take 15% more damage from your spells? Of course. But you can't really inflict the debuff as a mage or warlock, the 2 classes that would benefit the most from it. And it's limited how much extra spell damage you can get from 5 seconds of a 15% increase in a hectic and dynamic PvP skirmish. Even if you blast down a 3000 HP enemy with the Nightfall debuff active, only 400 damage will stem from it. It would be unfair if Nightfall was both godly in PvE and PvP. It's strong enough as it is. We're left with a single item. I will not keep you waiting, so let me unveil my choice of the best weapon effect in Classic World of Warcraft. The effect is from the world drop Hand of Edward the Odd. It reads, chance on hit. Next spell cast within 4 seconds will cast instantly. No matter how long the cast time of a spell might be, the effect from Hand of Edward the Odd will make it instant. It will work for your Hearthstone as well, allowing you to bail without warning from any fight. In isolation, the effect is phenomenal. Getting instant casts on otherwise non-instant spells is broken, which is why talents such as Presence of Mind for mages or Nature's Swiftness for shamans and druids have 3-minute cooldowns and require many talent points spent in the respective talent trees to unlock. If we take a look at the weapon itself, it's an epic level 57 one-handed mace. It is best used in-game by the hybrid classes, and it can be great in both PvE and PvP. I would say it's strongest in the hands of a shaman followed up by paladins. In PvP, Hand of Edward the Odd will allow you to cast spells such as Chain Lightning, Healing Wave or Chain Heal instantly. For paladins, I guess you'll be using Holy Light most of the time when the effect triggers, which might sound boring, but getting a 2.5 second cast time heal for free is no joke. I've also seen Hand of Edward the Odd used by shaman tanks in endgame dungeons on private servers, which may sound like a meme, but it actually makes a lot of sense and shamans can tank decently in 5-mans. You're auto-attacking the targets and throwing in instant chain lightnings for more damage and threat when the effect triggers. Hand of Edward the Odd is the most fun weapon on the list in my opinion. Maybe it's just because I like the idea of playing a shaman in PvP and shocking my enemies with instant lightning, but I think anyone can see the appeal of the on-hit effect. If you compare Hand of Edward the Odd to Nightfall weapon to weapon in terms of overall usefulness in the game, sure, I give Nightfall the edge. Hand of Edward the Odd has a lot of limitations and you can't use it to get instant pyroblasts for example, since mages can't use maces and you won't be running around swinging it in melee range anyways. Still, this is a ranking of the best weapon effects and not weapons, and I do believe the effect from Hand of Edward the Odd is the best, most intriguing and fun overall. Here in the end, I wanted to take a short moment to shout out some cool and a bit quirky weapon effects that didn't quite make the list. The first is from the Sprinter's Sword. The sword is rewarded from a Dire Maul quest, and the chance on hit will increase your run speed by 30% for 10 seconds. It's a neat effect that would actually be decent in PvP if you're chasing a cowardly opponent. Of course you have to hit someone for the effect to actually proc, but still, get it to trigger some way or the other, run towards the fleeing enemy and get a fair fight, or finish it off with a strike to the back. I would also like to mention the Jackhammer. It's a level 40 two-handed mace from Uldaman that's even more rare than the Pendulum of Doom. The Jackhammer has the chance to increase your attack speed by 30% for 10 seconds. It has a fast swing speed already, and if you get the effect to trigger in combination with a flurry as an enhancement shaman for instance, you will be hitting at a 1.5 second interval. That's almost as quick as the fastest one-handers in the game, and we're talking about a two-handed weapon. You'll be getting Wind Fury procs for days at that point. I think it is almost required that I touch on Ravager as well. This level 37 two-handed axe drops from Herod in the armory part of the Scarlet Monastery. The effect is really legendary and it will make you spin around causing damage to any target nearby. It has been used widely in the countless and countless of AoE dungeon grinding runs we've seen in Classic. Ravager is a nostalgic weapon to many I'm sure, and I think it's fair it gets a bit of spotlight here. Lastly, we got the Earthshaker from Magmadar. It's a level 60 epic mace with an on-hit effect of knocking all nearby enemies down for 3 seconds. Depending on how many targets you hit, you can get some serious value with it, and the thought of knocking down a dozen of people around you with a single hit is hilarious to me. That's it for the best weapon chance on hit effects in Classic World of Warcraft in my opinion. As I said in the beginning, I don't think you can make a totally objective list, and I'm sure you will disagree with some or maybe even a lot of my choices. I still hope you enjoyed the video and that it inspired some thought. Feel free to comment with a list of your own or mention any weapons you feel were left out. Thanks a lot for watching the video guys. Special thanks goes out to some of my earliest supporters. Take care everybody.